Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all keeping safe and well as always. I'm here to look back at the month of February as part of my regular favourites series, of course, and this month marked a particularly special milestone for me because it's 5 years since I started blogging, which is amazing to me. I never thought I'd sustain blogging for 5 months, let alone 5 years, but I found an amazing number of things to write about, far more than I ever expected when I set out doing this, and it's led to so many wonderful opportunities. I've been on the TV and radio and had documentaries made about me and done the Abseil, and I've been to lots of theatre shows and all sorts of other bits and pieces, and I've met so many wonderful people as well. So thank you very much if you've ever viewed anything I've done or liked it, shared it, commented on it, however you've interacted with me in any way, big or small. Thank you ever so much. It's all made a big difference. It's spurred me on to continue doing it. It's great knowing that it's supported people and inspired people and has entertained people. It's just, been a great hobby, and who knows what the next 5 years will bring. I don't know if I'll still be blogging in 5 years, but there's certainly no sign of it stopping yet. So thank you very much, and I hope you'll continue sticking with me. But moving back on to this month for this year, and there isn't a huge amount to mention. There's one bit of big good news that I want to talk about first, but beyond that, it's kind of just bullet points really about the entertainment I've been enjoying, because at the end of the day, we are still in lockdown and there's not a huge amount going on. So it's going to be a relatively short video, this one, but there is more detail in the blog post that goes with this as always. So I hope you find it interesting and enjoyable, and I'm just going to crack straight on with it. So the first and by far the most important thing to mention is the fact that I've had my first COVID vaccination. I had my first dose of the AstraZeneca vaccine at the end of February, which I'm really happy about, and I qualify for that as an unpaid carer under Group 6 of the priority list here in England because I live with my mother, who is elderly and blind, so I look after her and help her out with various things. So when I found out about that and the fact that I could register with my GP as a carer on my medical record, I rang them up, and it just took 30 seconds just to explain the situation, and they added the code to my record. That was it. That was done on the Friday. The following Wednesday, I then got a text inviting me to book an appointment, and I was able to get a slot for the following Sunday. So it was all done and sorted in just over a week, which is fantastic. The organisation of this whole vaccination programme has been absolutely incredible. Everybody in the NHS and everybody helping out with it, all the volunteers and the army who are helping out in some areas and everything. It's just been fantastic. So well done to everyone involved. And the centre I went to was wonderful. The staff were really helpful. They took on board the fact that I was visually impaired and showed me where to go and everything. And the signage was clear on the floor as well, which helped. And the doctor I saw was really nice too, really, really lovely and friendly, because she wanted to make it as easy as possible, of course. The injection wasn't painful. I felt it going in, but it wasn't painful. It was all over and done within a couple of seconds. And then I was able to go straight home. The Oxford vaccine you don't have to hang around for afterwards. The Pfizer vaccine, my mum had to hang around for 15 minutes afterwards to make sure she was okay, but I just was able to go straight home after the Oxford one. After that, I only had a few very mild side effects really, like in the first 24 hours it was most noticeable. That evening after I'd had the vaccine, I felt just like chills, my body went really cold. I wasn't shivering, but I just felt noticeably colder, so I wrapped up warm when I went to bed that night, and I took paracetamol because I had a headache as well. Again, only a very mild headache, though it wasn't anything bad. So sleeping was a little bit uncomfortable, but I did get some sleep that night. And then by the next morning, the chills had gone, and the headache kind of persisted for a couple more days, but gradually decreased over that time. So by the Wednesday, after I'd had it on the Sunday, I was back to normal again, basically. So it was absolutely fine. And, my arm was a bit sore as well for a few days too, but only where the injection was, and only if I kind of tensed my arm up or had it in a particular position or moved it in a certain way. A lot of the time I didn't notice it even on the first day really. So I was actually very pleased that I didn't have anything more severe than that, and any side effects worth paying the price for, to avoid getting infected by COVID, because that can do far worse damage even if you're young. I know it affects older people more, but the reality is there are plenty of young people, young, healthy, fit people who have been affected by it quite badly. So you can't rule yourself out, and even if your immune system is healthy, why not have that extra bit of protection on the top as well? Over 20 million people in England have now had it, which is testament to how successful this programme has been. So we've still got to be careful until enough people are vaccinated with their first and second doses to really make it reliable and to make it safe enough for us to open everything else up again. But there is definitely some light at the end of the tunnel if everything continues to go well. We've got the roadmap, we have a rough idea for how things are going to evolve over the year, fingers crossed. So we just have to hope things continue in this positive fashion. We will probably need boosters for variants like in the autumn to keep us going, and then perhaps every year or two we'll need another booster then, like we do for the flu. Basically it's going to come down to that level, I think, with just yearly or bi-yearly updates to the vaccine, which is fine. It's a small price to pay for keeping us healthy and getting life back to normal, really. So I'm looking forward to my second dose of the vaccine, which will be in between 4 and 12 weeks' time, depending on when they call me up again. And my mum will be getting hers within that time as well, which is fantastic. So I'm really glad that my family are protected, of course, and a lot of my friends have also had the vaccine or are shortly going to be getting it, which is fantastic as well. So I'm really glad that all the people I know are going to be safe to be around, and it's just going to be nice to get back to normal with everybody again in the hopefully not too distant future. So now that piece of big news is out of the way, let's move on to the various bits and pieces of entertainment that have got my attention this month, and I'll whip through these fairly quickly. Firstly, in terms of drama, my mother and I have enjoyed listening to The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman on Audible. We've now finished that. It's basically about a group of people in a retirement village who meet up every week to look at unsolved murder cases to try and figure out who did them. But then their skills are put to the test when a murder happens on their own doorstep and they have to try and figure that out. So that's very nicely written. There's good humour in there. There's plenty of twists and turns. There's some very moving moments as well. It's very nicely structured overall. It can be a little bit slow moving in places. It is quite a long book, so it could be shorter. You could still get away with it, I reckon. And there was an adaptation on Radio 4 of it that was much shorter, which I haven't listened to, but it was nice to hear the full book. As I say, it is very well written, especially for a debut novel, so well done to Richard Osman for that. And I know he's doing a sequel to it as well, so it'll be interesting to hear what that's like. And there is an interview with Richard Osman at the end of the Audible book as well. The lady talking to him perhaps gushes over him a bit too much and kind of gets in the way, really, doesn't let him talk as much as I'd like, but what he does have to say is interesting. It's nice to get his insights into his writing process, how he came about doing this. So yeah, that's worth listening to at the end of the audiobook as well. Then on Blu-ray, I carried on building up my Doctor Who Steelbook collection by buying the 50th anniversary box set, which has got a few episodes that were shown over the Doctor's 50th anniversary and loads of extra features as well. I already had them on a standard Blu-ray set, but the artwork on the Steelbook is much better and it takes up a lot less space on the shelf as well. And then away from the TV, although it did make the news for reasons that will become quickly obvious, there was some real life drama in my old haunt of Exeter at the university where I used to study for 3 years, so I was very near this, when they discovered a World War II bomb on the site. And it was a big 8-foot World War II bomb. It was a massive thing, so it was lucky that the builders who discovered it didn't set it off by accident. And it was too dangerous to move it because, it was corroded and it might have booby traps in it, so they had to do a controlled detonation on site, and it wasn't far from halls of residence and things. So they dumped 400 tons of sand on it to contain it and steel girders and stuff to really box it in as much as possible to reduce the impact of the blast. And it was still massive. The videos that have come out of that are really, really impressive. And these massive, really heavy steel girders that are on the top of the pile were kind of sent onto rooftops and things. And there was some damage to the buildings nearby in the immediate vicinity. They had obviously evacuated everybody, but it's just amazing to imagine how much worse the damage could have been if it hadn't been contained, that explosion. It was incredible. But Exeter was really badly bombed during the war. It had like 10,000 bombs, I think, dropped upon it, destroying half the city during World War II. So there are going to be others out there in the city somewhere, which is quite a scary thought. I know they have discovered others there in the past. So yeah, let's hope everyone stays safe and they don't have to find any more for a long time. So then moving on to comedy, and as usual, there's a lot of that to mention. And first of all, starting off with improvised comedy, I saw the remaining shows from Mischief Movie Nights. And I've mentioned these in previous videos, so I'm not going to go into detail now, but they basically do an improvised movie every show based on audience suggestions. And they were really, really funny as always. And there was an audio described show at the very end of the run as well, which was really nicely done actually. We got an audio introduction basically describing the layout of the studio. And then the cast themselves very kindly recorded a video where each member introduced themselves, described what they looked like, gave us examples of some of the accents they were going to use. The musicians also introduced themselves and gave little samples of their instruments so you could get a feel for the different sounds they might make. And then during the show, considering it was completely improvised and even the audio describer didn't have a clue what was coming up, he was still able to interject at appropriate points and keep us up to date with things we might need to know, which was really nice. I haven't needed audio description for the previous shows really because I can watch things on a nice big screen at home, but even so, having the audio description there was really nice. So yeah, well done to Willie Elliott for doing that, because that was no mean feat doing a live audio description for an improvised show, but it worked really well. If you want to find out more about Mischief Movie Nights, I've done a huge blog post about it now. I had written about the shows in previous posts, but I've kind of moved everything to one dedicated blog post all about the entire run. So go and check that out if you want to find out what it was about. Also from Mischief, they're releasing Peter Pan and A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong on DVD later in March, which is brilliant. That includes extended commentaries by the cast for each of those shows as well, which are longer than the commentaries that are being presented on their YouTube channel. The Peter Pan commentary is already uploaded, the Christmas Carol one is coming very soon, but the DVD versions will be longer. And of course we've got Series 2 of The Goes Wrong Show to look forward to, and there's also another little thing they've been teasing about that they're working on. So yeah, they've still got plenty in the pipeline, Mischief, and I'm hoping that one day I'll be able to go and see their movie nights in person when they get back on the stage again, as well as one or two of their other shows that I haven't seen on stage yet. So while Mischief go off and work on their other projects, I'm going to try another bit of improvised comedy during March, which is Showstoppers the Musical. It's basically an improvised musical by a different group. And they've done other shows online and on stage again in the past, just like Mischief have. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what that's like. I'm going to be trying a couple of shows at the end of March, and I'll let you know how I get on next month. And then in terms of improv on TV, Dave have recently acquired and started showing 50 episodes from the US reboot of Whose Line Is It Anyway, which I haven't had a chance to watch properly yet, but I've seen a little bit of it and it's still quite good. The American audiences are a bit more over the top in their reactions, which is a bit irritating sometimes. You know, they think things are really hysterical when they're not always, but otherwise it's still much the same as it always used to be. They've still got the veteran stars, Ryan Stiles, Colin Mockery, Wayne Brady, and yeah, it's still pretty funny, but I'm more interested really in rewatching the original British series that I used to like when I was growing up. I've got series 1 and 2 on DVD, but Channel 4 have got all 10 series on their all 4 websites, so I'm going to be going through that at some point. There's only one episode that they haven't got from series 7 for some reason, and they haven't got the 2 comic relief specials either, because that's a BBC thing, but otherwise it's basically the whole series. So at some point I will go through that first before I consider doing the US version, I think. And then moving on to various other bits and pieces of random comedy. On DVD I bought series 1 and 2 of Staged, which is that brilliant lockdown series featuring Michael Sheen and David Tennant, and these are the extended episodes as they were shown on Netflix, not the short episodes that were on BBC TV and iPlayer. So these are over 20 minutes long, each of these episodes, and there's a small selection of outtakes as well, so it's nice to have that set in my collection now. And then, as I explained in more detail in my January video, I'm still enjoying going through all of Noel's House Party on Andy Pearman's channel. He's basically got every episode that was ever broadcast, and he's got various bits of Unseen Studio footage, and he's slipped in extra bits like children in need stuff and all sorts of other bits and pieces. Even within the episode videos themselves, there are extras that perhaps aren't obvious from the episode title, so it's worth digging through everything if you're a fan of the show. It's great nostalgia, it's great seeing all the celebrities from back in the day, and it's great reliving all of that. And of course nowadays we have Saturday Night Takeaway on ITV, which is trying to fill the gap as best it can, and that's back for a new series, which is admirable considering they've had to bring in a virtual audience and social distancing measures and things. They've still managed to make it work as best they can, but I do think not just with this series but over the last few series really, I've kind of been losing interest in it more and more. You know, I kind of find myself fast forwarding through bits of the show more and more these days, partly because they're repeating features that I'm not interested in, or it just feels too repetitive, and there's celebrities they get on there now who I've either never heard of or just don't care about, and they're just there to promote stuff really rather than just to have fun. And the best thing about it really is the serial they do, which is Double Trouble this year, and that's got some nice guest stars in it, and that's being posted online anyway. So yeah, I'll keep an eye on it and I'll watch little bits here and there, but I kind of feel like I'm growing out of it a bit really, and there's other things that I'm more interested in watching these days. Then over on Channel 4 they had a special couple of episodes for Stand Up to Cancer called Stand Up and Deliver, where some famous comedians like Jason Manford, Zoe Lyons, Nick Helm, etc. helped some celebrities to write and perform a 5-minute stand-up routine, and these are celebrities who had never done stand-up before. So there was an MP in there was the Reverend Richard Coles, and there was Sean Ryder in there who Jason Manford had to deal with. And it was actually very interesting. It was interesting to hear the comedians give their advice on how to put routines together, and it was very tense seeing them preparing and the nerves they had and actually going up on the stage and doing it. You could tell how tough it was. It was quite a fascinating watch. And then also last month I was enjoying all the usual comedies like Not Going Out, Would I Lie to You, Mock the Week, QIXL, The Last Leg, and 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, one episode of which featured the wonderful Beck Hill in Dictionary Corner. And yes, I also know that Anne Robinson has been announced as the new host of the regular editions of Countdown, but I'm not interested in those and I work during the day anyway. It's only the 8 out of 10 Cats comedy editions of Countdown that I watch. And then on the radio, Mum and I have continued enjoying our usual Radio 4 comedies, so we finished listening to the latest series of The Unbelievable Truth, and then we've been listening to the new series of Just a Minute, which has a guest host for every episode now because Nicholas Parsons is no longer with us, obviously, so it'll be interesting to see how they all get on. Then online there's a new series of Who Said That, which is the comedy game show hosted by Mark Olver, where basically he has 4 comedians as guests each time, and each of them asks a question and has to guess which of the other comedians comedians has given particular answers, and it results in some very funny banter a lot of the time, and it's great to see comedians that I know on there like Josh Widdicombe, Joe Wilkinson, Miles Jupp, people like that. And you can actually watch the episodes early if you sign up for their Patreon page and donate money to it, but I'm happy to wait for it to come out on YouTube. And then this month also marks the 20th anniversary of 2 pints of lager and a packet of crisps, which I used to really like when I was younger. I wouldn't buy it on DVD now necessarily, but it's a show that I used to like when I was younger, and there was a special sketch filmed for the 20th anniversary featuring Gaz and Johnny, which is strange when you consider that Johnny's supposed to be dead, and therefore that's all I'm going to say without spoiling anything. But it was nice to see the two of them back together again, and also the British Comedy Guide, who published that sketch, also published an interview with Susan Nixon, the writer, to go with it. And clearly, from the three of them, Will Mellor, Ralph Little and Susan Nixon, there is an appetite to bring the show back if possible. They'll have to get the other cast members involved and get approval from the BBC and so on. And BBC Three is coming back to TV, so maybe they will want to bring 2 pints back for a reunion or something. Who knows? But then again, this might be all we get from 2 pints. Nobody might ever pick it up again. So we'll see what happens. It's just nice to see Will and Ralph back together again doing something. And they're also doing a podcast called 2 Pints as well, which is on podcast services and YouTube, which I haven't listened to yet, but they have a banter about all sorts of random things. So I might give it a little listen at some point when I have the time. And talking of the British Comedy Guide, they also gave out their 2020 awards recently as well. So there have been some nice amusing sketches online from people who have accepted their awards, such as Michael Sheen and David Tennant for Staged, and Ricky Gervais for Afterlife, and Greg Davis and Alex Horn for Taskmaster, which is coming back in March for Series 11, which is fantastic. And Michael Spicer as well, who got an award for a radio pilot he made, which I haven't heard, but I've been enjoying his Next Door sketches online. And of course, this month we had a couple of big viral Zoom videos as well. There was the lawyer who had the filter turned in one that made him look like a cat. And then there was the big Handforth Parish Council meeting with Jackie Weaver taking authority, and she was a great sport, appearing on the news and the last leg afterwards and stuff like that. Go and check it out. It's a real, genuine council meeting that took place, and it's amazing that some people behave in the way that they do. They have done meetings since, of which there are also videos online, but the public got in the way there, so it didn't really work so well. It's the original meeting from December that you need to look at the highlights of. So then finally moving on to music, and the BBC had Musicals The Greatest Show, which was a 2-hour extravaganza on Radio 2 and a 75-minute programme on BBC One, where basically they had lots of big stars like Kerry Ellis, Sheridan Smith, Michael Ball, Elaine Page, etc., performing songs from all sorts of big major musicals. Some of the songs I knew well and some songs I didn't know. It was just nice to have that kind of entertainment because we can't go to the theatre at the moment, so it's nice that they were able to bring a taste of that into our own homes. And then online, the Welsh National Theatre Orchestra posted a lovely version of One Day More from Les Mis, featuring Gareth Gates and various other singers. That's a really nice performance, so if you're missing theatre, then that's another thing you can look at. And then for rock music, The Who are releasing a super deluxe box set of their album The Who Sell Out on the 23rd of April with loads of extra tracks, so I'm looking forward to checking that out when it comes out. And then over on my blog, I've continued celebrating the 50th anniversary of my favourite band, Queen. Their official anniversary fell on the 1st of March this year, because on the 1st of March 1971, that's when John Deacon joined the band to complete the final lineup. Queen had existed for nearly a year before then with that name, but it was only when John Deacon joined that it became the final lineup that we all know and love, and they started making albums and things together. So that's what feels like the 50th anniversary date to me. But yeah, basically since last year I've been posting excessively detailed reviews of each of their albums, looking at different versions of the tracks, isolated elements, live performances, covers, etc. And this month, at the beginning of March, I've posted the first part of their album A Day at the Races. I've posted about all the tracks on side 1, and then side 2 I'm aiming to do at the beginning of April. And then finally, on a Queen related note, Brian May did a lovely video with Dominic Ferris, a pianist, where they did an instrumental version of You'll Never Walk Alone in tribute to the funeral of Captain Tom Moore, which took place this month. And that's it. That's all I have to mention for the month. Fairly quick and short, I know, but I hope you enjoyed that and found it interesting as per usual. March will be fairly quiet as well, of course, because we're still in lockdown, but there'll be various bits and pieces of entertainment I can mention. Like for comedies, there'll be the Showstoppers musical I'm trying at the end of the month, and there's the Peter Pan and Christmas Carol Goes Wrong DVDs from Mischief, there's the Vicar of Dibley documentary on Gold, there's Taskmaster coming back on Channel 4, there's a comedy festival on the BBC, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to be bored anytime soon, especially as I've got things like Noel's House Party to watch online as well, and I've got various other things lined up beyond that I might watch, so I'm not going to be bored anytime soon for as long as lockdown continues, but hopefully that won't be for too much longer. There is light at the end of the tunnel now, and the more of us that gets vaccinated, the more of us will be protected and the quicker we'll get out of this. So please do take the jab if it's offered. It's really quick and easy, and any side effects are worth riding out just to make sure you're protected, basically. So I do hope you get your jab soon if you haven't done so yet. And yeah, that's it. I'll leave it there. Thank you very much for watching, and also for the past 5 years. It's been very much appreciated. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe as per usual, and I'll see you for another video very soon. Bye.